All right, y'all, so I'm gonna just jump right in. And if you do have to leave after the hour, because I'm sure I'll go over, but I'm gonna really try not to, but I wanna be thorough. Okay, so I am going to start sharing my screen. Here we go. Okay. All right. So we are gonna get started. First, before we get started, I'm gonna move this over here. And remember, I will stop periodically to ask questions. If you do have questions that just cannot wait, you can go ahead and type them in the chat box, but I can't see the chat box when I'm screen sharing. I wanted to just briefly, really quick, this is just a quick mention to everyone is, let me go to all my designs. I tried to organize this before we started, but it's gonna take me a bit longer than I had planned on. But I wanted to just really quickly, if I can find it, show you guys where the links are. That way, if you, for example, are confused as to where the links are, the live links coming up for the next, oh, here it is, goodness gracious. Okay, so I had shared this out with all of the principals. I will, once I stop sharing my screen, I will try to remember to share this out with you guys again if you don't have it. Actually, you know what? We will post it in the comments or the description box in the YouTube page to this video for people that are watching it back. So this has all of the series that I'm going to be doing the webinars on from June through August. So you simply just click on where it says click here, and it will bring you to the series, and it will give you the Zoom link at the end. So we have a different Zoom link for each month, and kind of an overview of what I'm going to be talking about. So this is a quick reference if you want to just download the PDF. The links work on the downloadable PDF. And the last thing I was going to say is we had sent this out as well to your principals. And this is just an overview of the fact that obviously you guys got it because you knew that we started at 9:30 today. I hope that some of you didn't get that memo, or that you did get the memo, or that you weren't here waiting at 8. My daughter started gymnastics camp in Sarasota this week, and I could not get here super early like I like to be. So our new time is 9:30 here, and this again is a link to what I just showed you, the upcoming webinar schedule, the technology website that I made, which has a ton of tutorials, and then of course we have our YouTube page. So if you subscribe, we're trying to get over 100 subscribers, so that way we can add like links in the video, because that's like a special feature that we can't do. And then I have the link for the educator account to sign up for Canva. So that's just a couple housekeeping type things. So I just wanted to share that with you in case you didn't, were not aware of that. All right, so the first thing is we're gonna work on creating templates or shells. So in my Canva account, I guess I'm going to, let me exit out of all of these. Okay. So I would, once you get the teacher account, you can obviously start making folders. And since today I'm going to be using a platform, 2 different platforms. One, I want the paper to be landscape, and some I want to be portrait. So I'm going to show you first portrait, and then I'm going to show you how you can just turn the whole thing into landscape. So, okay, so here I am in portrait, and to get here, what you would do is you'll click create a design, and flyer is the 8.5 by 11. So I want to create something to start. As an example, let's say I'm going to assign students a PDF worksheet on observation notes. We're learning about the plant life cycle of a plant, and they're going to do an experiment at home. We talked about it in our live video, and now we're going to do the notes. And I am kind of in the mindset of distance learning, but of course you can do this in a face-to-face classroom environment as well, right? This could be a center, eliminate paper, and we'll be using Google Classroom to where it's going to keep everything nice and organized for you. Okay, so flyer would be the 8.5 by 11. And sometimes I do presentation, which works really well for landscape, but if you want specific landscape, what you can do is you can go to custom dimensions and then just type in 11 by 8.5 inches, and then it will create that for you. So I'm going to just jump into the portrait first. So essentially what I'm trying to do is I want people to be able to, oh, I can see the chat. Oh, I'm sorry. Rita, I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. Okay, so for what the purpose of this is I want students to be able to type on and draw on a document, but I don't want them to be able to accidentally like move the items like as they're, you know, filling out the document. So essentially what I'm trying to do is I'm making a background or a shell that I can save as an image and then use it as a background on like Google Docs, for example. Or you can use Cami, which I'm not going to go over today because my permissions, they just changed the security at our office and nothing was working for me today with Cami. But Cami is an awesome tool that there is a free version, but then there's a paid version, but it allows for you to assign PDFs for students to manipulate, add text to, draw on, and it's a great teaching tool, and it integrates with Google Classroom, Canvas, and Schoology. But it was not working today. So if I am to assign this to a student, I don't want the student to be able to, you know, move all of this. I want it to be a background. And I would enter and add these text box where the students would be able to text, and then of course they can draw using the shapes and scribble a diagram here. But I'm going to also go over another way to do that too. So right now, so I'm creating a, you know, this like kind of notes paper, but this is, you know, you can do for any kind of graphic organizer. So let's say I want to just pre-create a bunch of the same document, but maybe I want it to be, you know, seasonal or whatever. I'm going to start by, well, I'll just show you from the beginning. So you choose your background by going to backgrounds, or you can always use an image or a photo to be the background. So my kind of advice is if you're going to do it this way, like let's say we're going to start with a yellow background here. If you want to be able to change the background quickly, my suggestion is to have an overlay of like a shape. So let's say the shape here is going to be white. I'm going to make it white in a quick second. You know what? I'm doing this again where I'm making the screens like super small. Sorry, y'all. Okay. So I'm going to make this white like that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the content from this slide really quick. So I'm just going to Control All and copy. And I'm going to paste it here. So now, you know, and you can delete these too if you know, if you don't want a drawing, or you can keep this open to change the topic however you want. But let's say I want to have a bunch pre-made and ready. I'm just going to click copy like this. And then all I have to do now is just simply drag and click a background onto it, and it's going to change the background for me really quickly. So I'm not reinventing the wheel. You could, for example, let's say Christmas. Well, hold on, look at photos. Okay, so here's a kind of a good example. So I'm just gonna use it. Okay, so if I put this kind of in the background, or maybe you wanted it, maybe you want clovers, maybe you're doing a St. Patrick's Day activity or experiment. So that's just a quick way you get the gist of how you can quickly save or change this up. Now, to save it in a format where we can use it on a different platform. And of course, if you watch the other videos, I go over how to add these different elements. You just use, of course, the elements to the side. I just looked up rectangle, I added my Bitmoji, added text, and then I pre-downloaded these borders that I bought on Teacher Pay Teacher. And that's something that you can also buy, but you can also find them free online as well. You don't have to have that. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how I would download this and assign it out to students. So let's say I only want to use just this one example, just this one sheet for students. So I'm going to go to download. You can do Google Classroom, but I don't want to be using multiple sheets, so I'm just going to do it this way first. Is there a question? Did someone have a question? Quick question. I thought I heard someone talking. Okay, sorry. Okay. So I'm going to go to download, and I'm going to save this whole page as an image file. So I'm going to click download, and I'm going to go to PNG. Sometimes you'll want to save it as a PDF if there are links, but right now we're just going to use an image. And I'm going to say that I only want to download this page. Or actually, you know what? Let's do a batch download, because let's say I have a folder on my desktop and I want to be able to just drag and drop these assignments over the next couple of weeks. So I'm actually going to select all pages except for page 1 and except for page 8 and 7. Okay, so now that I download it, it's actually going to save it as a zip file. Ooh, I meant to minimize, but I just hit exit. Sorry. 1 second. Okay. So this will save us time, right? We need to save time as teachers. So it's going to download as a zip file, and then we just have to open it, and then we'll have all the images that we need. And so I'm going to show you using, okay, so I'm just going to click on this zip, and it's going to open it up. Wow. And then now I have all of these different images ready to go for me. Okay, so you could do this with, like, you know, a graphic organizer, a log entry for notebooks or observations, or whatever, you know, however creative you want to get. If you have, you know, a different graphic organizer on a novel or a piece of literature, or comparison charts, things like that. Anything that you would make as a worksheet in your classroom, you can do on Canva, and then just save it as an image. And now we can use it in Google Slides. So there will be another video just on Google Slides, but I'm sure most of you are familiar with it. It's free through Google Suite. So right now I'm logged into my demo account, and that's important because I'm also logged into my Google Classroom account using my demo profile account. So that's important because whatever you're saving or working on in Google, you want to make sure you're in the correct account, so it's saving in the correct Google Drive that's going to be linked to your Google Classroom. It doesn't have to be, but that's the quickest way that's going to save you time. Okay, so to get the slides to look like this, by the way, let me just start from the beginning, I guess. So if you're in Google Slides, you know, it's the default format is landscape. So if I want to make it though look like a worksheet that students are used to seeing, I'm going to click blank, and then I'm going to go to, and I'm going to name this example science notebook entry. Okay, so I'm going to go to file, and I'm going to go down to page setup. And right now it's at 16 by 9 widescreen, but I'm going to click custom, and I'm going to say 8.5 by 11 inches and click apply. So now we have a different format that we're going to be using. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert one of the images as a background. So I'm going to go to, oh, no, sorry. I'm going to go to background, and I'm going to choose an image. I'm going to browse because I'm uploading it. And so let's say I'm going to do this one today. Okay, done. So now a student can't move it. You know, the alternate is if someone was to say, add an image, if you inserted the image, you could do the same thing, but then the student could accidentally, once you share it out, like let's say they're trying to type in here, it's going to keep selecting this, you know, image, but we don't want that. We want to now add, for example, some text boxes. So I would insert some text in here to where when the student gets this assignment, they already know that they're going to have to just click, and it's going to automatically prompt them to start typing. So to share this out, I'm going to delete this page. So to share this out or to make an assignment now, I'm going to go to my Google Classroom. So in my Google Classroom, I showed in the last video how you can, well, actually, I think the first video I went over how you can make this like movable backdrop. And then last video, I talked about the Google add-on of the emoji keyboard to kind of help keep it a little bit more organized. So when I click on science, for example, I'm going to go to classwork. And so right now I kind of have it organized in a way that I would have it by date, but you know, however it works for you, and these are old examples. But let's say I'm going to assign on Wednesday, April 8th, this worksheet that I want students to do. So I'm going to go to the top and click create an assignment. See, Cammy's there. If it was working right now, I would be able to show you that. Okay, so let's say this is notebook entry number 2, science. Okay, so I might say click on the document and complete the notebook entry. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to click add, and I'm going to go to Google Drive, right? So now since I'm in my Google Drive, I'm able to see this that I've just worked on. So if I click here, I'm going to say add. Now, there's 2 ways you can do this. Let's say you want all students to be able to do something. Like you want students to be able to, let's say you created on this document, let me go back here. Let's say that you made groups, okay? You could have your different groups, notate that this is group 1 by putting something at the top or whatever you might want to do, or group 2, whatever, where all students could go in here and edit and change. You'll be able to see as the teacher who made what changes and who's been working on, you know, what parts. But this is another collaborative effort where you can have multiple students working at a document at the same time. So, excuse me, if you did it that way, oops, where am I? Oh man, I was doing so well, not getting lost. Okay. Oh, here I am, sorry. So you could say that students could just view the file, which means no one can edit it at all. Maybe it's just a presentation you want them to watch and listen. Or you can have students edit the file. This means that all students in your classroom are going to have the same live document. So if I add stuff to it, that's the students are going to see that I've added stuff to it. If Billy adds something and then Karen adds something, we're all going to see it live being edited, or after the fact that all these people have edited it. If you're doing an individual grade for students, what you're going to do is say make a copy for each student. So then when the student clicks on it, it's going to make a copy in that student's Google Drive. And when they submit it to you, it's going to be just their work instead of everyone's work. So I'm going to click assign. And so once it's assigned, and I have so many things going here. Okay. Once it's assigned, it's up here. I would just bring it down to my Wednesday here, and it's ready to go for students. So if I was a student in this classroom, I would see this in my assignments, in my classwork, and in my assignments, and then they'd be able to do that. So let me pause for a second and answer some questions. Okay, go ahead. Oh, you have your hand raised, Colleen.
Thank you.
Oh, Colleen, okay. I
Yeah.
think you're good now.
That hand raising always cracks me up. My question is that when you assign a copy of of the assignment to everybody, and then they complete that assignment, is there a way to direct when they submit their assignment, is there a way to direct it all into a separate folder so that when you go up and open your drive, you don't have like 32, assignments like they're not grouped. I don't know how to direct it to be a specific assignment.
Yes, I know what you're saying. There is a way, I think. I haven't done it in a very long time, so I'm going to research that for you and get back to you specifically.
I know Angela and I have been talking about this too, because it is really hard when you go to grade your assignments and you've got 32 different, things you got to open up, it just takes forever. And they could be mixed with your other things too in your drive. I'm
trying to think because when I was managing, I had 32 classes when I taught STEM, STREAM, and robotics. And so each class had their own file, and it would automatically save in my files, in my drive, in their own files. But what you're saying is inside that.
Huh? Yeah, how do you direct it to save into that file? As opposed
I think
to just
the reason it did was because they were separate classes. Okay. I don't know, but I'm going to find out for you because I know that there is a way to do that.
All right, thank you.
I'm 90% sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sorry, Colleen.
Whatever you could do.
Any other questions before I keep going? Okay, let me make a note. That's why I'm saying, like, Google Classroom, it's simple for the most part for teachers and students to navigate, but man, it could use some improvements, Okay. All right, so I'm gonna keep sharing then. Share, okay. All right, okay, so now that we have that assigned out, that's one way to do it. Now there's another way that's, a little bit different because in that, where was I? Okay, in here, so like when a student clicks on it or, opens this assignment, it's gonna come up just like this to where they have this come up where they can start typing, they can type here. What's not super user-friendly is the drawing portion, to annotate but without text. So you can do it, but so let's say if they were gonna do a scribble and they wanted to show their plant, see it stops. So they could keep just clicking on this to, draw whatever they're drawing. But there's another way to do this. So that's a little bit different. So, but we're gonna be using, for this example, I'm gonna be using Jamboard. So Jamboard is also another free Google add-on. Everything's gonna save in my drive. Jamboard is kind of like a digital whiteboard that you can interact with. So what's kind of cool is, what I like about this is if you were doing, like, let's say a live class and you were like on Zoom and the students all had a link to your Jamboard, for example, everyone can manipulate the screen at one time. So maybe, like, let's say, well, I'll show you an example, but I'm going to say, for example, one of my children was in pre-K 3 this year, and his teachers used Jamboard for the daily calendar during distance learning. So they had the calendar up, and the teachers were moving little parts of the calendar, like the numbers and the counters, to show, the calendar for the day, to kind of simulate that same idea of what they do in the classroom. Now, if the link was shared out, they would be able to say, okay, Joel, can you please find Tuesday and move it, to where it fits on the calendar? And Joel on his own computer could go on and move it in live time and everyone can see it. So Jamboard's cool, is really neat that way. Since Jamboard is presentation type format, and I don't think, I was trying to find a way to change it, the shape, but I could not figure out how to change the shape. So it's a perfect learning opportunity to show you how to change or make a copy of what we've already created in landscape. So you have to have the teacher version or the paid version to be able to change the format, the size of your document. There is a workaround. So like if for example, you have the free version, all you have to do is, Control All, copy, and you could just simply start a new document. So you would just go to create design. I would go to presentation. I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to click paste. So it's going to paste everything for me that way. That takes a little bit more time, and you would have to obviously resize everything. Sometimes it will have you size things, but sometimes not. If it's a small change or adjustment, it does it on its own. Like I was designing a direct mailer, a postcard for my husband last weekend, and the dimensions were not quite right. And so we had to increase the dimensions. And when I increased it, it didn't change the design at all. Everything kept scaled and changed on its own. Since we're drastically changing the dimensions here, we are going to have to manipulate it a little bit. So I'm going to go to resize at the top here. And so right now it's 8.5 by 11 inches. I could simply change it to 11 by 8.5, or I could click on presentation. And if I want to create a copy of it, like I don't want to change this document, see I have it as portrait, I could say copy and resize, or if I want to change it forever and I don't need the original copy, I can just click resize. So if I clicked resize, it's going to do that for us. And oops, nope, I want to go, oh, I did it again where I'm like in small screen for y'all, I'm sorry. Okay, so now I want to go to maybe 50%. Okay, so now what I would have to do is just manipulate these shapes a little bit, but I'm not doing all this crazy copying and pasting. And this might not work for my benefit right now, because this is not an SVG formatted shape to where it will stay scaled. that's why it looks weird here. But for purposes of time, I'm just going to show you. Oops. I'm going to move this all the way to the back, or it is in the back. Okay. So I'm just going to resize these guys here, maybe actually do this. And this guy, same thing, since it's a pre-sized clip art that I bought, it's not gonna allow me to change see how when I try to change the width, it does, but it cuts off the other part. So just for right now, I'm gonna just use these shapes that allow me to manipulate both the width and the height. So, okay. Oops. And actually, you know, maybe I would do this instead. Sorry, 1 second. This is probably a bad example because I'm like changing so many things, but I'm like, oh, I think I would do it this way instead to give the students a little bit more space to draw. Okay. All right, so let me just move these guys down. All right. So let's say now I want the students to be able to manipulate this. I'm just going to click download. I'm only just going to do this one for right now. And the same thing, you know, if I didn't want to go through all this again with every single slide, I would just click the copy button and I would literally just go to the backgrounds and I would just simply change it that way. So that way I'm not having to, oh, you know what? I didn't select from the original. I didn't select this square, but that's okay, or this rectangle. So, but you get the idea. So you just have to simply drag onto the background and change it once I've, you know, made this initial change here. Okay, so let's say I want to just use this page. So I'm going to click download and I'm going to save as a PNG. And I only want to use page 2, so I'm going to click download. And so while that's going, in Jamboard, so this is what, you know, the Jamboard looks like. I'm going to save this as demo science notebook and tree number 2. Okay, so now I'm going to insert an image here, and it's in downloads. But of course, you can use Drive if you have it downloaded on Drive, but I don't because I was using Canva. So under downloads, it's here. So now once this pops up, I'll be able to do the same thing that I did before with the students where I could say, where I can assign it out to one student or, you know, to individual students or to the whole class. So to do that, I'm going to show you again in Google Classroom. I would just click create an assignment and I'm going to add from Google Drive. I'm going to add the demo here or the Jamboard. And so again, is it either you want students to just view it, everyone edit if you're doing like a group interactive project or interactive lesson, or I just want one student to do this. So to do that, I would then, you know, I would add, I'm just going to put demo. Now I'm going to click assign. And then that will be assigned out to all those students to where then they would click on the assignment. Sorry, my computer's so slow today. They would click on the assignment and then they would come in here. So now students could, they can add a sticky note where that's where they can type, you know, what they want to type, okay? And they could put that, you know, here or whatever it might be. Students could then go over it and then they could draw without having to stop. Oops, that's a bad example. Whatever, maybe they're, you know, labeling and then they can use the Post-it notes to label. They can change the color. You can change the size. Okay, so that's just, oops. Hold on. I just clicked on this. Oh, wait, how did I? Okay, I don't know why that happened. Oh, there we go. I guess if you click on this image, it's gonna bring it to the front, but to get it back to normal, you just click off to the side. So anyways, but what's cool about this too is, for example, let's say this is great for, primary students too, but I'm not gonna do a new document. I would normally, but for sake of time, I'm gonna show you something else. So let's say, sorry about that. Okay. Okay, let's say I was doing manipulatives with a younger group of students, let's say pre-K. And we're learning about counting and adding, simple. Okay, so I want students to be able to interact and be able to do something manipulative here, okay? So we're gonna do bugs, and I want them to, they're gonna be able to grab from bugs up here, and they're gonna be, let's say we're gonna do an activity all together, or you want it assigned out, maybe the students are making their own math problem with their parents or whatever. Okay, so I'm gonna download this as a PNG again. Oh, when I started saying with Cami before, where I said you can use this program called Cami to annotate on top of a document, that's when you have to save your designs as a PDF, because that's how you are able to manipulate it. But today, pretty much, we're going to be just using PNG files. Okay, so I'm going to click download, and I'm going to show you two ways that you can do this, one through Google Classroom, the other through Jamboard. So if I was to do this on Jamboard, I would just click on the image here. And then let's say I want some bugs. Okay, so I want to get some bugs here for the students to drag and drop. I can go to Google image search, and let's say, all right, I'm just going to do butterfly. Okay, so butterfly, select. Okay, if you want something transparent, you can always go to, well, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can Google search for a transparent background, or on Canva, you can do the same thing where you can save items with a transparent background. I'll just show you really quick what I mean by that. So let's say, oops, let's say I'm going to search for a butterfly on Canva. No, my sky's blue, so let's do a different color. Okay, let's say I'm going to do this. So if I wanted to save this as an image, what I would do is go to download, and you can only do this in the paid for version, transparent background, and we want just page 12. And this is how you can make your own clip art, by the way. Remember last time we were going over the Bitmoji? So let's say you wanted your Bitmoji to be running around with a fly net also. We could just go to your Bitmoji add-on, or your, oh, I can't think of the word right now. Let's say running. Okay. Let's say that I'm good with this picture. I can drag it, or I can copy. Well, I don't think that worked, so let me copy it. So I'm just going to click copy image, and then I'm going to paste it in Canva. And let's say I want a net. I'm going to be running around with this net here. Oh, it's going the wrong way maybe. I want to flip it. I can flip it horizontally like this. I can even, change the angle here. And then maybe I want to show that there's a butterfly inside the net. See, it's behind it, but we just have to change the position to forward. And maybe I want it to look like it's in the net, so I would maybe make it like a little bit transparent. Okay, so if I wanted to save this whole thing now as an image like that I can use, I would just click download as a PNG with a transparent background. And I'm going to click on page 12 and click download. So now it's going to download that for me. So if I wanted to, like I said, use the butterfly, I would just go to add an image. I'm going to go to upload because I had saved them. And I'm going to select two things actually. Well, will it let me do two? I guess not. So I'm just going to do one at a time. Now that I have the butterfly here and it's going to have a transparent background, all I need to do is just copy and paste this little guy. So I could make them small if I want. So let's say I'm going to copy, paste. Okay. Because I want the students to be able to catch them in the net. Okay. All right. Now let's say too, I would like for the students to be able to select from numbers to put in here, or of course they can draw on this. So let's say I shared this out with students and I said, okay, you guys, I want you to show me what is 2 plus 1. So then students can manipulate this and show you, okay, that's 2 plus 1 equals how many together? 1, 2, 3. And then they can either draw it, or the other way that you can do this is by having sticky notes. And also there's a laser too. So if you're teaching and you want to show something, but you don't want to draw on it, you can circle. So you can say, okay, I have 2 here plus 1 more, is 3. Or you can even say, how many do we have left? Okay, so for a sticky note, you could, let's say we just want the number 1. Okay, you can keep going, or what you can do is simply copy and paste too. So I like to do a couple on top of each other to make sure, because like let's say if you use 1 plus 1, and you can clear the frame as well. So if you needed to, but I'm going to go backwards. You can also, again, erase if you need to. It's not going to erase images. It just erases the pen. To move everything back, you would just have, physically move it back. Okay, so again, that's kind of the gist of it. So if I copied and pasted, like let's say I want to call this 2, I would just double click it, 2, save, and then I can just copy and paste this. So there's a little bit of prep work that goes into this, but it's basically a free way that you can, if you've heard of boom cards, which is awesome, and I'm going to be talking about that in a whole separate video. You can use the same idea where you save your background images using Canva, and you can use them in boom cards, which is essentially a gamified manipulative platform where you don't have all this stuff, because when you send this document out to students, they can still see, demo, like up here, it looks like a working document, whereas boom cards looks like you're playing like on an app or a game where it doesn't have any border or any writing around it. So that's an example of how you can use Jamboard. The other way that you can do this is, of course, if you did it through slides. Same idea where you can, take that image. We'll do insert image, or we can have it be the background. That's what I like about this too, is, whereas in Jamboard, you can accidentally move that. But I'm sure that there's a way. I have to figure out, because I feel like almost, I don't know, I kind of feel like, is there a way that you can make this the background? I have to play around with it some more, or lock it to where like the students can't click on it. I have to figure that out. But anyways, on the Google Slides, what we can do is make this the background, and then all we have to do is add all the manipulatives that we want to use. And so I would then, so now we can't move this, right? So now I would just insert image. I'm going to upload again these two images. And I'm going to make this, oops, we're scaling here. Okay. I'm going to make, oh, oops. I'm going to make the butterfly. Ooh, here we go. Smaller, and then just copy and paste a bunch of them. So, okay, this is a good example. So see how I have this huge border around me? That's because I didn't, you know, go in and change the format of this slide or the dimensions of the Canva that I'm working in. If I wanted to have a smaller border like that, I could just be working in a smaller dimension set. But I just, for time purposes, didn't want to do that, but no problem. You just double click on the image and we're just going to crop it so that way we don't keep running into that issue of this invisible border. Okay, so I'm going to put this here, and now I'm going to take my butterflies and I'm going to make them even smaller. Okay, and then, you know, just move them around wherever. And then, so here's the other thing that you can do here. So you can either allow for students to, you know, scribble, to write out the number. So they can do that. They just have to like click scribble a couple times. Or you could pre-insert these text boxes here. And what I would do if this was for, like, you know, younger audience, I would make it centered. I would make the font huge and maybe even bold. And then I'm going to copy that for the student to then, when they come in here, they just click on it and they type in the number 5. Okay, so, and then they can move these for you. So of course you can even, so then like what you could do too as the teacher, here's another example, is you could, of course, let me do this. I'm gonna delete. Did I delete the whole box here? Yeah, I did. Oops. Okay. What you can then do, right, here's the shell. Now all you have to do as a teacher is you could say, if, like, maybe this is an assignment for your students that they have to do all these problems. So maybe you're gonna just fill out for them what you want them to do, and they have to move the butterflies and they have to, you know, write in the answer. So that's just another example of how you could use this as a shell. So now this one piece has become a whole activity, right? So the other way that you could do that too is now that we, you know, you could easily change the object that they're trying to catch. You could keep the same format here, or let's say, okay, I'm gonna duplicate this, and what I'm gonna do instead is I'm going to go to Ocean. I'm gonna, oops, that's not what I meant to do. I have to drag it to be the background. Maybe now I want fish hook. Okay, so maybe now I'm gonna do it this way instead and have the fish get, you know, hooked here, which maybe I wouldn't do that. Maybe I would do a net if it was little kids. I feel bad. Cooler. I don't know if that would even pop up, but or, oh, you know what? We could do a fishbowl. That's more kid friendly. Maybe I have to say fish bowl. Okay, so I could, if I wanted a clear fish bowl, for example, like I could just take this one, and what I could do is just, I'm gonna go to shapes here. I'm gonna go to circle. Okay, and then what I want to do is really try to match the gray here. That's close-ish. But if you want to pick an exact color, well, it doesn't give you the option. Well, maybe it does, I don't know. Okay, but for time, I'm just gonna stop there, okay? And now I'm gonna just add a really quick gloss here. Make it look maybe kind of shiny a little bit. Okay, so now what I could do is I'm just gonna select all of these items. I'm gonna group them. And now I have maybe my fishbowl here of how many altogether. So you could do the same thing where, like, let's say you have, you want fish. And what's cool too, if you find these files that are SVG files, meaning like you can manipulate the color, that's kind of cool because that also takes, you know, it to me is more, it's teacher friendly because you can just quickly change the color. You're not searching for all of these new clip arts. Maybe you really like what you found and you just want to be consistent, you know. Okay, so what I would do then is download just those last couple pages. I'm gonna download these guys as images with transparent background, download, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the background, but I'm gonna make it a PNG file with not a transparent background. Okay, done. And download. So by shell, of course, you could keep these, make that outline where it has the box plus the box equals the box. That would be considered as a shell, and then all you have to do is quickly just change the background, and then you can use whatever manipulative you want as a, an image that you could allow for students to manipulate. So I would definitely make it as a new document, but I'm just going to show you what I would do in here. I would just go in, insert, image, upload. So I'm going to upload, or, oh, you know what? Because I batch downloaded something, so I have to click on it first. Okay, now I have the fish here. So I'm going to click on all these guys. It's going to open there. I'm going to make, ooh. I'm just going to put them here for right now. I'm going to go to the background, choose my image, browse. I'm going to go back out here, downloads. Okay, and then I'm ready to go. Now I would do the same thing if I had a new document opened up where I would, you could move the fish wherever you want or however you're going to do it. Maybe they're down here and you want them to get onto the actual hook, that would count. However you do it is fine. So that's another example. Okay, let me ask if there are any questions up to this point. And just looking at the chat. Okay. All right, I know this is 10:30. I said I wouldn't go over. I think I did a lot as far as what on my list. The last thing I was just going to show you is the PDF. So I'm going to share my screen again. Okay. All right. So now if we're going to do a PDF, like an interactive, I probably just closed out the one I wanted. Okay, here we go. You can do this in multiple different ways. So let's say you wanted to make a choice board for students, maybe you have, you know, I don't know how you would personally, how you would do it. How I would maybe do it is if I had, you know, a class set of iPads and we were in science for the day, and we were doing, not the day, for the block, and we were doing centers maybe. Maybe this is an example of how you could give the students a choice board where there's different activities. Maybe there's, you know, a video they have to watch, or a portion of their text that they have to read. And then maybe there are different examples of how they can present that they have that transfer of knowledge, some sort of project or worksheet or whatever, in one spot. Now, this is kind of how an example of a distance learning environment of how I would maybe keep everything together on like one sheet for my students for that day. Just, it's so confusing. Just as a parent, my kids' teachers did amazing. You know, the thing is that they did an awesome job. What I have seen, though, not from my kids' teachers, is that it can be really confusing, right? For the teachers and for the students and for the parents to go into the Google Classroom, and, you know, especially if the kids are managing like a million classes and trying to figure out, okay, you know, especially if this isn't organized well, if it's just like a string of different documents that's not specific in any kind of order or categories or anything, it gets so confusing for the kids and for everyone. So what I would do in that situation is I would just make, you know, for that day, or even maybe for the week, however you decide you would want to do it, a place where the students can see and either check off that they've done it for the day, or go in order. I'm a visual person, so for me, I did this kind of in blocks, and plus I had already made this, so I literally just used it, the format. But you could, of course, do it by, oh, I wish I knew where that was, but I don't want to click through everything because I did do an example on this. Actually, I think I have a video on this showing like the day of the month of the week with the different assignments. I'll see if I can find it. Okay, so what I did in here is I'm going to show you how you can link to specific places. You're basically holding your kid's hand here, but with links. So let's say for science today on Tuesday in Google Classroom, what I want you to do is you're going to watch this Brain Pop episode on the plant life cycle, and then you're going to complete the worksheet. So what I did was I went in here and I linked to a part in my Google Classroom, and I'm going to show you how that looks. So, and for your students, they're going to already be logged in on their computers to Google Classroom. So the links will work for them. So I'm going to just show you, for example, what that looks like. So if the kids click on Watch Brain Pop, it's going to bring them to Google Classroom for that assignment for the day that they're going to watch the Brain Pop. And then, you know, if it's something like this where it's not like an embedded quiz or anything, and this is something you would establish, you know, with your students, that maybe they have to write done or complete, or maybe that you have a question for them, or maybe they have to write a sentence about their favorite part, or whatever it might be, to submit the assignment. Because otherwise it's going to look like they didn't do it, or that it's missing, because it's not an embedded quiz, or, you know, like a response or something like that. So the same thing happens, of course, with the complete the worksheet. I have it bring them to the example here, which is the worksheet. So to do that, let's say we were back in our Google Classroom, and I'm going to go back to classwork under science, and actually let's do the math example. So I'm going to go to math, classwork. Let's just pretend that it's Monday, April 6th. So I'm going to click create an assignment. I'm going to say butterfly lesson. I don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna click add from my Google Drive. Now under my Google Drive, you can see that I have the presentation here. So same thing where I might, you know, I would say I want each student to do it and complete it. And so then I'm going to assign it out. If you wanted to add these items, you can. If you want just specific students to do it, you can. You know, if you made groups where you just took the document and made copies of it and made a copy for like blue group, red group, and yellow group, you can assign that out to specific students. So let's say I clicked assign. And now once this is in here, I'll go back to, close this. Okay. No. Okay, so let's say for math, I'm gonna say, I'm just gonna copy this. Actually, zoom. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. Oh, I know what I'm doing. Okay. So let's say I'm going to say complete the butterfly or solve the butterfly problems. Move the butterflies, or you know, the correct number of butterflies I would write to solve the problems. The problem multiple. Okay, so you could keep it like that and link it. Maybe your students aren't used to like clicking on PDFs, and since it is invisible, kind of, you know, there's nothing that really prompts them to do that. So what you could do is add a button if you wanted to, where you could just do this, and then you could write over it, like click here. So I could just take this, I'm gonna change the color to white so it shows up on that purple button. And then I'm just gonna say, oops, click here. And then I can take this, put it here, maybe make it a little smaller. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna group these two together and I'm gonna link it to that math assignment. So I'm going to, the butterfly lesson. I'm gonna move it down to April 6th because maybe that's what we were doing that day. And simply all I have to do is do this, click copy link. And so the 3 buttons, copy link. And I'm gonna, remember I have this selected. So I'm gonna click link, paste, apply. So now when I, you know, send this out to students, when they click on it, it's gonna bring them right to that assignment to do. So that's just another example of how you could use the platform to do that as well. Oh, the very last thing, I know I said the last thing. I didn't even go into Nearpod today, which I said was gonna be like the star of the show. Poor Nearpod. Okay, Nearpod, I have 2 videos on Nearpod, I believe, 1 or 2, but I think 2 on the teacher website on the e-learning, okay, dov-elearn. So if you go to this website and you go, and we will upload them to the playlist today. So if you go to, I believe, content delivery, no. Oh, it's probably under design. So if we go to, no, it's not here either. Did I not have it? Maybe I put it under LMS, but it's really not an LMS. All right, you guys, I don't know where this would be. I know I have videos on it, so I will find them. I'm surprised that it's not on here. It's definitely not here. Oh, I can search. Hold on, let me see. Nearpod. Learning technology, I guess. Okay. Oh. I guess I don't have the tutorials linked. I'm sorry about that. So I will upload them for you guys because I have a whole thing on Nearpod. So essentially, this is a glorified interactive presentation platform. Okay. So and there's, they have a free trial. They have a teacher version. They have a paid version. So I have the gold version because I create items in here. I'm just going to show you a preview of a professional development. Actually, I always click on the wrong one, but we'll see if this is the right one. Of what it would look like for a student. So you would give the student the code for the course or for the lesson. They'll log in, and there's no menu. So in some ways it's good because the students are just prompted to keep going. You can put permissions on it. So like and you can embed things like a Google form. You can have interactive items like please introduce yourself, or how would you answer the essential question, or what questions do you have? You can integrate this onto the lesson, and students can add to it. You can also do things where students can draw on top of it, on top of something, or they can even go in and add text. Maybe black. There we go. Move it here. Okay, so that's another thing that you can do. You can add files for students to download. So it's going to say download on the next page. And so basically they can download here, any PDFs. Students can also, I wanted to see if I had a quiz. Yeah, I have a quiz. So you can make it mandatory for the students where they have to go through the quiz. I'm just literally just clicking to show you what happens at the end because it will tell them their score. I don't know why it didn't tell me the score, but it's supposed to tell you the score. Maybe I have it to where it doesn't, or maybe I don't have it graded. If it's graded, it'll show you the score. I can click skip quiz. So that's just an example. Now, when you are in Nearpod, the thing is that all of those slides I made on Canva, you can make the lesson, or you can make everything in Nearpod, but it's not, you don't have as many options for it to look really, aesthetically pleasing, and it's not as customizable. So you could, click on content, and maybe I'm going to add a slide here to explain something. This is all you have to choose from. That's it. In Nearpod, this is a paid version. This is all you have to choose from. So you can change the layout of it. You could put stuff in here, but how I like to do it is I do everything in Canva, and what I do is, okay, let me show you an example. So I took all of my stuff in Canva. I made all of the slides that I wanted to do in here. It was fast for me to do that. Then I downloaded it as image files. I downloaded all of them. And then what I did was, once I was in Nearpod, and you can use Google Slides as well. So if you want to import your slides from an old presentation, but you want the students to be able to interact and have those little quizzes, or to be able to embed videos, which you can on slides too. But where did it? I guess I clicked out of it, my example. Oh no, here it is, sorry. I'm gonna click cancel. Yes, cancel. Okay, so now what I can do is I can simply drag and drop all of these files. Or like maybe I only wanted some of them, but I can literally drag and drop them into Nearpod. What you can do then is either you create individual slides, or if it was like a bigger, like a unit or something, you could create a slideshow where it would be one. Here, I'll show you both. So if I click create slideshow, it's gonna take all of these images that I made, and on one slide, it will make a slideshow. Which I'm not gonna actually make you sit and wait and watch that. Yes, cancel. I'm just gonna show you then how I would, oh, so see, so if I was in the course as a student, and I'll show you, it should give me preview. If I was in here as a student, it would, I would be able to see the slide. This is just slide one. Is that all it did? But it would just be the slides, and then you would go to the next where you saw me before, click next, 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 and it flips through. So that the other way to do that is to grab all of those files. Again, you can drag or drop. Oops, only the first 35 can be loaded. Oh, okay, no problem. Oh wait, did it say I can zip it? I didn't add all of mine at once. I would just add batches of it. So then once I'm done that, what it looks like is once you drag and drop everything, it looks like this. So when I have all of my slides, like let's say I wanted to add something after this slide, I would just click add slide, add either content or an activity. Maybe I want an open-ended question. They have Flipgrid integrated now. That's new. Collaborate, you can have them take a poll, you know, whatever it might be. Time to Climb is a gamified version of a quiz. So if I put an open-ended question in here, I could say, please tell us about yourself. Okay, whatever. So I would click go or start or okay, and now it's here. You can reorganize slides if you need to. So I really like it, but the thing that I don't like about it, which I'll show you, is once you click deploy, or once you share it out, you cannot make changes to what you've sent. So for example, if I'm gonna, okay, no, I don't wanna save changes. Okay, you can share it with other teachers. So like, let's say you're departmentalized or not, actually, like let's say if everyone in 3rd grade teaches science, that you do all your science plans together, and it's my turn to plan the lessons for this week, I could share it with the other teachers so they could either add or take stuff away, or and then just share it out with students. Of course, then they could share it with just their students too. You can make folders. We can see reports too. So let's say I want to, why isn't it? Okay, maybe I have to hit save. Let's see what it does now. Okay, so now I can click either live lesson or student pace. What I really love about live lesson is you're in control. So I've done this before with professional developments where the participants put in the code. They go to Nearpod and put in the code. Again, you can use all of these different interfaces with Nearpod. They put in the code, and then they'll be joined here. Now you as the teacher, then you control everyone's screen. So like if you're presenting to someone or something, or even if it was a distance learning environment, let's say you're doing, this would be hard to do, like, you know, especially if, I was thinking about this the other day, like if you were doing it live with students distance learning, they're not they could do it on the device, but then you're going to be, if like they have an iPad, for example, and they're doing Zoom, and you wanted them to open Nearpod, then Nearpod would take up their screen and you would be controlling their screen. So I think they could still hear you if it wasn't fully taken over. But if that makes sense, it would, I don't know if it would work. It's an experiment we'll have to try out here. If it would work that way, because if a student pulled up the Nearpod app, technically Zoom will be running in the background, but Nearpod has taken over, so maybe they can't hear you as a teacher explaining as you go, which is different from a PC, because of course, or a computer, a desktop, because the students can have both open at the same time. The new iPads you can open at the same time. So, so you control the screen here, or if you say student paced, you then would send this require student submissions. You could then send this code out to students. Once the students log into this code and you realize, oh, I forgot the link on slide 3, you can't change it and it's not going to update. What you can do is, which I had to do once, which really stunk. I felt bad because I did this for a distance learning Clin Ed class, and I sent out the link for everyone to do, and then I realized that 2 slides were missing and I couldn't change it. I had to resend a whole new link to them, and all of their data was lost. So not lost, I could see what they did, but basically they started over. They can re-log in and keep going, like pick up where they left off if they're using the same code, but you can't change it once it's sent out. So Nearpod's awesome. Try it out. They have a lot of free lessons too, but to, you know, clarify, when you see all of these really cool like graphics and stuff like this, it's not created in Nearpod. It has to be created in a different software, and I use Canva. So so sorry I went so over. Are there any questions?